We'll see.
Oh, we need it to stay. Yes.
You ready? Yeah, sure. Good morning, everybody. Happy solar eclipse day. We'll start off with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today asking you to watch over this meeting and be with all of our employees and citizens of our county as they go about their duties throughout the week. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
There's two of them.
I'll call the Monday, April 8th meeting of the Linn County Commission to order. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Nope.
If not, I'll make a motion that we sign both sets, the March 25th and the special meeting for the Board of Canvassers on March 27th. Is that okay to put them both together? As presented?
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
I'll make a motion that we pay the claims in the amount of $665,030.43.
I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to pay the claims in the amount of $665,030.43.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Adds and abates.
2, which is a 2,176.76 reduction in taxes.
$2,176.76.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the claims or the adds and abates 2023-289 and 2023-290 in the amount of $2,176.76.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the claims in the amount of $2,000, or the adds and abates in the amount of $2,176.76. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Got the sheriff's monthly fee report for March.
Thank you. All right. March Sheriff's Monthly Fee Report, U.S. Marshal Housing and Transportation, $55,170.15. Wyandotte County Inmate Housing for $37,530. U.S. Marshal Housing and Transportation for $51,566.79. Civil service out-of-state fee of $130. Civil service in-state fee of $270. Report fees of $163.50. Fingerprinting fees of $30. Conceal and carry $97.50. Offender fee $400. VIN fee $440. For a total for the month of $145,797.94. Is there a motion to approve the sheriff's fee report?
I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's fee report for
$145.
$145,797.94.
Okay, I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to approve the sheriff's fee report in the amount of $145,797.94. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I just passed out the park report for March.
Okay. March park report. Income totals of $22,888.89. Expense totals of $19,475.05, giving us a gain of $3,413.84 for the month. Year to date, we are at $52,897.28 in income, and expenses of $74,092.15, for a total loss of $21,194.87 so far this year.
I think the last thing that I have is I have the employment agreement and resolution that appoints Lisa Kelstead as the county appraiser. And I had Burton take a look at them, and I think he was fine with everything I had in. I basically just took an old one and reworded it with the new names and dates.
Okay.
So we need a motion to adopt resolution 2024-14, which appoints Lisa as the appraiser, and to sign the employment agreement. And Lisa has already signed it. She's looked at it too.
I move that we adopt resolution 2024-14, appointing Lisa Kelstead as our appraiser, and approve her contract,
Yeah, employment agreement or contract.
employment agreement.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to adopt resolution 2024-14, appointing Lisa Kelstead as our appraiser, and adopt her employment agreement. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Well, I think that's what I had. And we've got the sheriff's report that I think you guys got, but I've got a copy here if you
Nope.
need it.
I've got it. Thank you. Okay, sheriff's report for April 8th. Total prisoners of 63, 15 releases this past week. Total prisoners in of 63, 0 farmed out. Total farmed in 46. Total 911 calls of 72. Total jail contacts of 5,014. Total calls for service of 531. Total civil service papers served of 22. VIN inspections of 2. New cases opened 11. Cases closed 4. Vehicle crashes 3. SRO activities 98. Bailiff contacts 175 with 56 calls for service and 8 livestock out. Okay. AMR? Morning, Don.
Thank you. I'm Dawn Brooks with AMR, and I have month-to-date report for AMR ambulance calls. Short week, April 1 through 5th. Blue Mound, 2 calls, 0 transports. Centerville, 0 calls, 0 transports. Lacine, 2 calls, 1 transport. Linn Valley, 0 calls, 0 transports. Mound City, 5 calls, 0 transports. Parker, 0 calls, 0 transports. Pleasanton, 1 call, 0 transports. Prescott, 1 call, 0 transports. Total of 11 calls with only 1 transport. So it's a pretty slow week, which is good. Not good for my business, but good for Linn County. So, thank you. Anything else from me?
I don't have anything.
Thank you, Don. Randy, fire?
Good morning, Commissioners. Randy Higwald, Linn County Emergency Preparedness and Rural Fire. I sent out the call totals. We had 14 calls last week. Brings our yearly total up to 179. Grass is finally kind of greening up, slowing up grass fire season. The only other thing I have is I sent out information about a pumper tender that I'd found. It's located in Ohio. I'd just like permission to go ahead and follow up with that for possible purchase. Talk to the chief where that truck is now. He's supposed to be sending me the maintenance records. Just pricing other used trucks and new ones. The prices have been running between $439,000 and $480,000. So this seemed like a pretty good deal, worth looking into and pursuing. They're not in a big hurry to get rid of it because they're still waiting on their new truck. So I was just wanting permission to pursue that and look more into it and see what information I can find.
Is it on an auction or is it just,
No, it's actually listed through like a fire truck clearinghouse that will list trucks for people to sell them. So it's actually the fire district that has it selling it. So like I said, there's no rush on it, but just want to give it an update and permission to move forward on it.
to continue to look at it,
Yeah.
get more information?
I'm good with him looking.
I am too. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Jessica?
Good morning, Commissioners. We had our economic development meeting last week. We awarded several grants. We awarded our second child care grant to Melody Crooks out of Pleasanton. We awarded our first community development grant of the year to the Mound City Business Coalition for, they're putting on another concert over Labor Day weekend, so that's going to go help with that. And then we also awarded our summer youth employment grant. We have, our awardees were Coleman Hardware, Dreamscape Innovations, F&M Bank, Mound City Ag, Mound City Butcher Block, People's Telecom, Roberts Family Dental Care, Shalom Retreat Center, Stainbrooks, and Truly Insurance. And our two alternates were Heinz Family Farm and the Blue Flamingo. So we had 20 businesses apply. We had 29 positions submitted for. And those were the 10 that the committee picked, along with the two alternates. We had several that were first-time applicants, so that was very exciting. Sean and I met with some airport committee members and Pleasanton officials on Thursday. We have some questions to answer and some info to gather, and then that group will meet again before we present to you all. A couple of possible things that came out of that meeting. Pleasanton thought that we may be able to qualify for their tax abatement program out at the airport. And then we are also, Burton is going to look into abating the county portion of the taxes if we can just do that if we're not eligible for an exemption.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you go about picking on you said you had 29 applicants. How do we pick that?
The committee members do that. We have they see all the applications, they pick their top 10, and then we go from there.
Based off of a scoring matrix or?
We do. We have a scoring sheet that we use. It's based on the job position, the number of hours worked, the pay that's offered. whether or not they anticipate that the position will become permanent or not. That's all I have for you.
Okay.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Chris? IT?
Good morning, Chris Martin, Linn County IT Director. Commissioners, I sent you an email, it's been over 2 weeks ago, just letting you know that the Evergy electric had been disconnected at the old sheriff's office. While I was talking to them, they also asked, did we want to disconnect the old county attorney's building? So we're still paying for that building, which is also empty.
Okay.
Is that something that you'd like to do?
I think we should disconnect that building.
I'm good with that if we're not going to use it.
Okay, I'll call them and disconnect that as well.
Thank you, Chris.
I handed out, I failed to email, ironically, the notification policy suggestion guideline for your review. I don't know if that's something you want to look over today or wait until next week or kind of take a look over that. Actually, Sean West came up with the majority and it was very good. And then I kind of added a few things there at the end that are more technical related to the policy. But I felt like it added everything that you had requested in the last discussion.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and go over it with us?
Sure. Do you want me to read it or do you just want to go over the bullet points?
Let's go through the whole thing.
Okay. So it's just titled Public Notification System Policies. It says the intent of the system is to provide a method for county officials to better inform the public on safety concerns, roadway issues, events, activities, topics, employee notifications, and meetings of public interest. The system can also be used to poll parties on the system for the purpose of gaining public opinion on matters of interest. The following should be used as a guide on how to use the system. When questions arise that are not covered by these policies, please refer to your questions to your department head for clarification. Item 1 is all county-owned or operated devices shall be added to the system. 2, all messages should be informational and should have a direct link to county business or public safety when possible. Number 3, each department that would like to use the notification system should have someone trained in the use of the system, and each department is responsible for issuing messages relevant to their department. Messages other than normal meeting notices should be approved by the department head or their designee. All messages not related to public safety should be sent out Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Polls should be used only with the approval of the Board of County Commissioners. Departments may be asked to display information about the notification system and how to sign up for notifications in their work areas and on their web-based platforms. The IT department will manage all administrative access to the notification system and provide any statistical information available when requested through official means, i.e. Cora, county commissioners, whoever. A department head or their designee should be the first point of contact when assisting a member of the public to sign up for or troubleshoot receiving notification messages. Due to liability concerns, Linn County personnel should not personally interact with a device not owned or operated by Linn County. They should only offer guidance and instruction when possible.
Okay.
So that's what I have.
Have you presented it to the staff?
This was all taken from what was given to me by staff.
Okay.
Yep.
How does it look to you, Jim?
It's fine. Maybe you think about give it a week or two and see, let everybody make sure they've seen it and
Yep. Let's go ahead and send it out. Bring it in as,
send it out just to make sure everybody knows. If there's
Okay.
anybody got any other ideas, we can talk about it before we make it
Okay.
policy.
that's fine with me.
I will do it.
Okay.
I could get it in my phone here. I think that's all I had here. Yeah, I would like to have a 10-minute executive session for legal regarding some inspections and a bill question.
Okay. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and get that taken care of?
Fine, with me.
Okay. So I move that we recess the Board of County Commissioners to executive session for 10 minutes for legal matters from the county counselor with Chris, which would be deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship pursuant with consultation and attorney exception listed in KSA 75-4319B, Section 2, concerning obtaining legal advice from the county counselor. The open meeting will resume at 9:32.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for legal. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Okay.
I'm good on time.
All right, we have no action from executive session. Sean? Public Works?
Morning, Commissioners. Sean West, Public Works. First thing I have for you are land leases. The first is crop ground at Linn County landfill on the east half, southwest quarter of Section 33. And this agreement is between the county and Dalton McGinnis.
Two-year lease. Do you have any questions on it? Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the lease agreement with Dalton McGinnis for the 2024 landfill crop lease and allow the chairman to sign. Right,
I'll second that.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the real estate lease for the 2024 landfill crop lease with Dalton McGinnis. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
The second I have is a agreement between the county and Linda Conley for 100 acres of hay ground at the airport.
That's also 2-year too, right?
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we sign this lease with Linda Conley on the airport hay ground for the 2 years. A total of $2,600 per year.
Is that the correct
I
amount?
didn't write, I don't think 2,600.
Is that the correct amount on that lease?
That was the same thing on the other one. I don't think that's right.
I don't either.
While we're waiting on that, I'll give you the next one is a lease between Dalton McGinnis and the county for hay ground at the Lacing Industrial Park. It's also a 2-year lease.
In the amount of $815.
That is correct.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we enter into the real estate lease agreement with Dalton McGinnis on the 2024 Lacing Industrial Park hay ground lease in the amount of $815 and allow the chair to sign.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to enter into the real estate lease agreement with Dalton McGinnis on the 2024 Lacing Industrial Park hay ground lease in the amount of $815 and allow the chairman to sign. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
The next is a work for hire agreement for lawn services for the county between the county and Scarecrow Farm and Lawn Care.
This one's just a 1 year. It ends on November 1st, 2024.
Correct.
What was the total on this one? Do you have it? I've seen it here.
The total
For the
Bid.
year.
agreed price for lawn care,
I have the agreement, but I don't have the dollar amount in here on it.
I believe it was 19,950
I thought it was just.
from last year's minutes,
Yeah.
or last week's.
Do we need that amount in the contract?
He's got this, it's broken out into each area. I think it's, I was just. They have each area broken out.
Okay.
That's what it is.
All right. Sorry.
That's all.
So that wasn't on what we had online. I didn't have it. Okay. Okay,
I just knew it was a little less than 20,000, what I thought I remembered, so.
right.
Just-
Okay. Yeah. Okay,
I'll make a motion, we go into contract for the mowing contract with Scarecrow Mowing for the 2024 season.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to enter into the contract for mowing with Scarecrow Mowing for 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
have the amended agreement with Linda Conley for the 100 acres of unoccupied hay ground at the airport, and the amount's $47.60.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we enter into the contract with the Linn County Airport with Linda Conley for 2-year contract for $4,760 per year for the hay ground.
Okay, I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to enter into the real estate lease agreement with Linda Conley for the Linn County Airport hay ground in the amount of $4,760 for a 2-year contract. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioners, we have one other agreement that we're still trying to work out, that is for the hay ground at the park. We just need to adjust some language, and we'll get that to you next week, because that's lease ground that we have a lease on. We have to adjust some language different than what we're looking at currently. I sent you some information on a report on some bridging. One of the backgrounds or reason I sent that information is because we're looking at the letting for Hell's Bend Bridge project, and it is a similar bridge with a catastrophic event. And it kind of explains better than I could what and why we're looking at what we're doing. Also, along with that, we do yearly and bi-yearly inspections on all of our bridge systems. Those reports are sent to the state, documented, and sent back to us. With that, we are responsible for the maintenance, repair, and if you read the report, that was the shortcoming or failure in this process, was follow-up and maintenance of that system. Understanding that I and no one on our staff is an engineer, capable of qualifying those inspections, looking through them, and determining a priority list for maintenance, repair, or replacement. There's some grant opportunities coming up, and our on-call engineer reached out to us to speak about grant opportunities and applications that close within the next couple of months on bridge systems that may qualify for those. So we're going to meet with that engineer, speak to him about the bridges that we have in our system that may need repaired or replaced that may qualify for those grants. And then I'm going to come back to you with that information and try to give you some assessment. I would like your permission, while I have that discussion with that engineer, to ask the engineering group what it would take for them to take our yearly inspections and evaluations and make a prioritized list, basically something similar, not only for maintenance, but something similar to the 3-year or 5-year equipment plan that we have, detailing priorities in those maintenances or replacements in those bridges, and get a price on what it would cost for them to accurately give us a plan to repair and replace those bridges based on those engineering reports. Because again, from what I'm seeing, that is the main failure in the information I sent you, was that there was no follow-up with that, and in order to prioritize that, I don't have those qualifications.
Don't we already have an engineer looking the bridges over and inspecting them?
They inspect them and turn a report in. What they don't do is they don't prioritize based on those reports, and they're kind of like code sheets. If you're not an engineer, they're a little difficult to determine what the priorities are based on all those different codings that they give. I'm pretty much asking for an engineer to take that inspection report and make a plan from those inspection reports so that we do our competent due diligence in making those repairs or
So we
scheduling.
make sure that there's not any failures or anything, any maintenance that we're not performing.
Correct. I believe it would be something that I'm unable to do because I'm not qualified to go through and
So the
prioritize those.
engineering company we're hiring now is not telling us anything, just whether it's,
They are making the reports, completing them, turning them in as required by the state, and then turning them into the state. They are doing the inspections and reporting, but what we haven't contracted is a layman's report telling us you need to do these maintenance things to these bridges immediately. These are lower priority, and these are the bridges you should probably prioritize to take out or replace in your system.
well, I can't see why we're not getting that report. I mean, maybe that's not what we asked for. Why wouldn't we get that off of the one? And if we're asking somebody to inspect them, why would we not?
Because we're getting the inspections.
We're getting the inspections, why are we not getting a report of what needs fixed, I guess is my question. Now, this is just like, we're going to ask two companies.
Well, and I'm not
Be the same.
saying that information isn't there in those reports. What I'm saying is I'm not qualified to pull that information out and make that list or prioritize it because, again, these are coded sheets that go to the state. So the reporting isn't in a language that a layman would understand on how to prioritize. I just don't have the qualifications to take those reports and build that
I would
list.
think we would rely on the company that we hired to get that information to us, I guess, is what I'm saying, Sean. I mean, whoever's doing this.
Well, and I would agree because after reading the report I sent to you, that's what I noticed is that they were doing the same thing. They were doing the state minimum, getting the inspections done and sending the reports to the state, but there was no follow through in making a plan to do those repairs, and it caused that failure. And in the future, when we put out those bridge inspections, we can put those into that plan and ask, or into that RFP and ask for those things to be done, because I think it's a failure on my part not understanding that there was another step that needed to be taken in order to protect the county from liability. Because I did what my predecessors did and what everybody else did. And in reading that report, that's the same thing this entity did without following through. So what I'm asking is I'd just like to get a price on, when I meet with this engineer, what that would take or what that would look like.
And this is our on-call engineer. that
Yes.
We are already having do the bridge inspections. Are they doing the bridge inspections?
No, they're not the company that won the bid on the bridge inspections.
Could we ask them what it would take to give us the information?
Yeah.
I could reach out.
It's doing it, just ask them what it's gonna take for us to get the information.
I could reach.
They should be giving it to us anyway if we're paying them to do it, wouldn't you think?
I would.
I can reach out to them and come back to you with that information, but I think it's pretty important that we follow through with it so that
I agree with that.
we make sure that we weren't informed of a problem and then didn't take care of it. And that's what I'm trying to avoid with this process.
Okay.
So, I have an agreement for a supplemental with Terracon. Terracon is our engineering company that's doing the cell expansions and other projects involving the cells at our landfill. During that discussion, if you remember, we had a discussion on the old cells and groundwater monitoring that we asked Terracon to look into and find out how many more years we had to keep those wells open and do that testing. They reached out, got that information. We have to do at least one more cycle before they'll allow a closeout on those. And that is the agreement or supplement agreement that I'm giving you now. That agreement has an option for not only the assessment, repair, and redevelopment, groundwater monitoring, but it also has optional statistical analysis. And quite frankly, I don't know that that's something with the years that we've had this in place for another $4,500 that we need. The total for this is $12,500 for this new cycle of well monitoring and reporting.
And just requires one more testing and then
That's our understanding, is that one more cycle, and I think and I could
Every
be wrong,
5
I
years.
think they're a 5-year pattern or cycle, and that after this next 5-year cycle, we're going to ask to close out those wells.
Okay.
what we gotta do, I guess we have to do it.
Money will come out of the landfill budget.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we enter into agreement with Terracon for checking the groundwater samples at the landfill on our,
This will be for
Wells.
5 years, and then once we start testing it, we test it for 5 years, and then we can walk away from it if it's clear. Is that, I guess,
The state will dictate based on those test results how long we have to go on.
So it
But
was-
that's the anticipation, is that this should be the last 5-year cycle.
it was closed prior to April 9th, 1994. First samples were collected on November 1993. Okay, so this is for the 30th year groundwater monitoring event on behalf of the county.
It's correct. And by
Yeah,
the communication with the engineer, that's the anticipation.
Yeah.
But until those samples come back and the state reviews them,
We won't know.
we won't know whether or not they'll require another 5-year.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion. I'll just start over on that. I'll make a motion that we enter into the agreement with Terracon for the groundwater monitoring at the landfill in the amount of $12,500.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to enter into an agreement with Terracon for the groundwater samples for the landfill in the amount of $12,500. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Commissioners, I have bids for oils used for chip and seal on our asphalt program to open this morning with you.
Okay. This one's from Wright Asphalt Products, CRSTR at $2.47 per gallon, and CRS2P at $2.55 per gallon. Pump charge of $250, demurrage of $100 per hour after the first 2 hours. Canceled load will be charged full freight and half freight back to the terminal. 24-hour notice for load request, minimum load of 5,700 gallons. Prices are good through October 31st, 2024.
Coastal Energy Corporation, the MC30 delivered $3.24 a gallon. DRS2P is $2.33. EA300's $2.62. Pump charge of $125. Hourly unloading rate after 2 hours $100. Short freight for loads less than 5,500 gallon is $800.
Okay, and this one's from Vance Brothers Incorporated, MC30 at $3.13.5 per gallon, FOB to Linn County. EA300 at $2.48.5 per gallon, FOB to Linn County. CRS 2P at $2.38.5 per gallon, FOB to Linn County. Pump charge is $75. Minimum freight charge of $506 for loads less than 46,000 pounds. It will be billed on invoices at 9 cents per gallon, but is included in the above prices. 1.5 hours free unloading time allowed, after which it's $70 per hour charge. Deliveries canceled while truck is en route shall be subject to a minimum freight charge. Return product may be subject to a $100 unloading charge and a restocking charge of 20% per gallon.
And Commissioners, all we're asking is you return those to us to qualify them and bring them back to you after we have a recommendation.
Okay. There you are, Sean.
Next thing I had on my agenda was dock project and the funding for that. I sent out some ARPA information, and the dock that we received as a donation from Evergy, in order to do a reconfiguration on that, we will have to buy parts for it to reconfigure it for a boat slip at the marina. Because we're looking at some other options for the installation. If you'd like, with Mr. McCullough gone today, if you'd like me to kick that down the road and have that discussion next week or the week after, be more than happy to do it.
I'm good with that.
Okay, that'll be fine.
The rugs are going to be cleaned on the 11th, and then we should stage the furniture or desks that are in the building. I've looked into.
This is on the district court.
Yes, I'm sorry. This was on the old district court that the appraiser and GIS are moving into. So we're cleaning on the 11th, then we're staging desk, and I've contacted several moving companies, received 2 contacts back. I do have a recommendation for you on one of those companies. Don Wood Moving Company out of Fort Scott. They would send 4 men, a truck, and complete the work for $1,600 a day, which is $200 an hour for the crew, for the duration of what it took. I'm not for sure. The estimate I received, they can't tell us because I photographed everything and sent it to them, how long that will take with the stairs and the complications. But even if that was a 2-day project, our deductible on any injury or any damage to any of that equipment would be $1,000. So a third of that price would be handed away the moment that one of our employees were injured on the stairs or we damaged a sensitive piece of equipment moving it. So I believe it's a good estimate. I had them send me their insurance information, and I took it to David. He reviewed it and said it looks to be adequate.
The liability, if they drop anything, it's on them. So it's
Okay.
And given the price, I can go ahead and agree to this. If that's suitable with you all, I would go ahead and contact them and schedule that, along with making contact with the appraisers and GIS and letting them know when that move date would take place.
Okay. I'm for it.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Commissioners, that's all I had for you at this time.
Do we have anything on the senior center in Pleasanton?
We have painting, some lights that had to be put in the back for a cupboard area. And then we should be almost to the point where we're ready to turn it back over to Stars to do the floor. Once they complete the floor, then the cleaning and touch-ups and things are ours, and we'll start that process as well to move. The only thing I do have to do is I have to work with Randy about the north door as a fire exit, and make sure that I'm complying with codes there, because I may have misstepped when I tried to replace the old metal door
there with a steel outside door. I may have misstepped and not complied with the fire code for occupancy. So I need to work with him and get that figured out as well.
Anything else for Sean?
I don't know.
I don't either. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. A citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion is limited to 5 minutes and the commission will not take action at this time. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items for a later time or date. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Okay, I would like to have a 10-minute executive session for non-elected personnel. Is that all right with you, Jim?
You good with it?
Okay. We'll include David in that session. Is that okay? Okay. I move to recess the Board of Commission meeting to executive session for 10 minutes to discuss individual employees' performance pursuant with the non-elected personnel matter exception, KSA 754319B, Section 1, to protect the privacy of the employee. The open meeting will resume in the commission room at 10:14.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for 10 minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, all member, yeah, you're right. That changes it.
Back in session? Okay, we have no action from executive session. Next up on the agenda, we have SEK Mental Health Center.
Nathan Fossen, CEO of Southeast Kansas Mental Health Center. We appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. When I was previously presenting our budget request to the county, that was one expressed interest of ours, was to better educate the commission, the community about the services we offer, and better present to you even the depth of services that we offer. In support thereof, I'll provide you with some material, educational material that summarize the role and types of services we provide.
Okay. Thank you.
I might briefly, before introducing some of our staff and team, might briefly just offer some historical context as to how we as a community mental health center first came about and what our overriding role is. We were formed in the early 60s by way of statute, formed by the county commissions. We serve 6 counties in total: Allen, Anderson, Woodson, Linn, Urban, Neosho. Each county commission appoints 2 board members to govern and oversee us, and accordingly offers support, funding support, to serve those individuals that otherwise have inability to pay, yet whose needs are great. In the mid-90s, mental health reform statutorily played out, which had the goal of providing an enhanced level of mental health services within the community rather than relying on institutions to provide that care, such as Topeka State Hospital, as an example, was closed in the mid-90s. All of those individuals that were within that psychiatric facility were sent to their home communities, with the understanding that we as a community mental health center would now receive some of that funding to then develop our services in such a way that could better support those individuals within their home, within their work settings, and the like. We, as an outpatient community mental health center, provide whole person care in the form of therapy, psychiatry, substance abuse treatment, a wide array of community-based services that are highlighted in those brochure materials I've provided, as well as more recently even primary care and other specialty medical services to ensure that we're meeting our community's whole person needs. When I first began with Southeast Kansas Mental Health in 1996 as an outpatient therapist, and then thereafter a crisis intervention therapist, this was my heart and role was that of helping those who were in crisis need. And today, I'd like to focus on our crisis services today, and in so doing, invite Brian Cook. Brian has served with Southeast Kansas Mental Health for nearly 20 years as a crisis intervention therapist, now as our crisis director. Alongside him is Lisa, and she is our crisis manager, but I'll turn the time over to Brian to tell the rest of our story.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Recognize this gentleman over here.
Good to see you, Brian.
Okay, well, hello everyone, and thank you for granting me the opportunity to come speak to you today. As Nathan mentioned, my name is Brian Cook. For nearly 2 decades, I've had the privilege of working for Southeast Kansas Mental Health Center right here in our community. My journey in mental health began fresh out of PSU with my master's in psychology, and it's been rooted in crisis intervention work ever since then. I've spent quite a bit of time over the years doing assessments and providing care coordination inside the jail, the courtroom, the police stations, local doctor's offices, and local residences. And as Nathan mentioned, I'm currently serving as the Director of Crisis Services for Southeast Kansas Mental Health. And on my time on the ground, I've come face to face with the raw realities that many in our communities face daily. There are threads that weave through these stories that are both complex and are deeply intertwined, but I see them over and over again. And this includes things from children shuffled through the foster care system, adults grappling with the grip of substance abuse, and families torn by domestic violence, to those caught in the spiral of severe mental health challenges. And behind these struggles often lie barriers that seem insurmountable, such as getting a ride to work, securing a safe place to call home, or simply understanding how one's mental health care can improve one's overall functioning. Now, despite the hard work and dedication of local first responders, medical personnel, and the team at SEK Mental Health, it's clear that we're not reaching everyone. Some are slipping through the cracks, and they fall into what I call care gaps. And these are simply spaces where our current system is not successfully connecting with them. And this leads to a cycle of repeated crises. It strains resources across the board, and it leaves scars not just on individuals and families, but on our community as a whole. And it perpetuates trauma that cycles across generations. So what are our aspirations? It's with this backdrop that I come speak to you today, and I'm proposing not just a patch for these gaps, but a bridge to a new approach and a mindset for a more assertive outreach. And this is a vision where our support system is not just reactive, but proactive and adaptable, and it meets people exactly where they are. So the plan, number one, I want to talk to you about something called mobile crisis response. Imagine a world where in your moment of crisis, help comes directly to you. Whether it's broad daylight or the middle of the night, our team would be there, ready to listen, support, and act. This initiative would be about ensuring that no one is left feeling alone with their pain. And I'm referring here to offering everything from urgent care assessments to a comforting warm ear, and again, whether it be day, night, weekend, or holiday. In the past, such crisis response has typically been restricted to those in immediate danger of harming either themselves or others, and it's often been restricted to emergency room settings, medical offices, or law enforcement centers. So when I use the term mobile crisis response, what's included here is the idea of allowing the individual or family to define themselves when they need the help and where they'd like to receive that help, up to and including their own residence. Secondly, I'd like to talk to you about teaming up with law enforcement. Our efforts to integrate with the local sheriff's office have already begun, laying the groundwork for a partnership that can change lives. And this is about more than just responding together. It's about building a shared understanding and approach to mental health in our community. Here, Sheriff Friend has been instrumental. In my conversations with the sheriff, his own energy and passion to try something new and break away from some of the old cycles of arrest, incarcerate, rinse and repeat, and try something new has led to discussions between us about interagency meetings, ride-alongs between our staff and his, and ultimately to knocking on doors together, something referred to as police co-responding. If we're going to get serious about meeting people where they are, we've got to be realistic about the fact that sometimes those locations are less than safe for a case manager or even two case managers to approach without support. And that's where Sheriff Friend and his crew have been such a welcome partner. And frankly, we look to increase that partnership with law enforcement across Linn County. Next, I'd like to talk to you about some revolving doors. Part of pioneering a new approach means our mission must extend well beyond the immediate crisis. So it's about addressing the revolving door of emergency room visits, state hospital admissions, and incarcerations. It's about addressing these revolving doors by bolstering our presence in those critical spaces. And we aim to provide a continuum of care that truly supports the individuals on their journey to recovery. So one component along this continuum is increased contact for Linn County citizens inside the state hospital. I need to recruit well-trained staff that can travel to Osawatomie, meet with the individuals there, and begin that essential prep work of planning for follow-up after discharge. Too often, these same individuals leave the state hospital campus and they rapidly fall into one of those care gaps, whether that's because they lack the insight into the need for ongoing support, they lack the finances, transportation, or maybe even housing. We've got to do better at staying connected after their hospital care is over. Another revolving door that's crucial to address is our local jail. We should look to increase our contact and outreach to individuals housed there. These individuals need extra support from a case manager and a counselor to address their mental health needs that might be contributing to frequent contact with law enforcement. Now, catching them in that secure environment where they might be more motivated to make some important changes and thereby reduce their own chances of returning to jail is a period of time we really need to be capitalizing on. But we're not currently doing this nearly at the level that's needed. So what that means is that I would like to have an on-site therapist and case manager routinely making themselves available at the jail facility. So some of the requirements for success here are predicated on having the right people in place, meaning dedicated, compassionate professionals that are not just equipped to provide care, but they also need to be deeply connected to Linn County. So I'd like to see us hire a full-time dedicated crisis therapist and at least 2 full-time crisis case managers. And it's important that these individuals reside in Linn County, that they have ties to the community, and that they're available for rapid deployment. And for that to happen, they cannot be tied to the office, they can't be tied to delivering other routine services, and they can't be tied to other counties. So I envision these new staff traveling to the state hospital, routinely visiting the jail, and knocking on doors both with and without the presence of law enforcement. If we're going to reach some of these individuals falling into care gaps, then we have to be prepared to do more than give them a phone call, giving them an appointment time and date, and maybe some verbal directions on how to get to the office. We need staffing that's available and prepared to invest more than the usual amount of time with this outreach. Where an appointment no-show might have previously gotten you a phone call or letter from our office asking you to call and reschedule, we can and should do more to build a bridge for folks that are falling into these care gaps. It's about persistence, knocking on doors not just once, but as often as needed, and providing that kind of support that builds trust and breaks down barriers, whether they be logistical, such as lack of transportation, financial, such as the inability to pay for services, or even psychological, such as paranoia towards providers. Again, routine care and outreach is not successfully engaging these individuals, and I'd like to see us trying something new. So, working towards a healthier community. My own past experience, and I think a growing body of evidence, is supporting a new approach to crisis outreach. When we succeed, the benefits could be far-reaching. We're talking about less strain on emergency services, fewer run-ins with the law, and above all, a healthier, more stable community. So these steps are the beginning, but they're not the end. Let's envision a future where access to mental health support is seamless across a range of crisis needs, whether through the establishment of a local crisis stabilization unit that provides a full day and night of respite care for overwhelmed individuals, or increased access to electronic devices that could be placed at key locations in the community to bolster access to telehealth services, or expanding our outreach from only hotline services or emergency calls to more warm ear calls, ensuring that anyone needing to talk can find a compassionate ear, no matter where they are or what time it is. Other proposals I'd like to return at some point in the future and talk to you a little more about would include something like the possibility of establishing a behavioral health court in Linn County. Now, that would require successful partnering with and agreement with the local court and judges. And the potential payoff would be an opportunity to provide a pathway out of repeat offending. And that would include enhanced supervision and contact from a local mental health team that's dedicated to interfacing closely with the court. And finally, another way we can interface with the local court to help break down that revolving door is with enhanced use of outpatient treatment orders, and perhaps even considering the newer model of assisted outpatient treatment, whereby a judge has an opportunity to oversee an individual's success by ensuring that they stay in close contact with their mental health providers. These programs have an added benefit of allowing the community to see a non-punitive side to the court, and it positions judges in a way that they can reward individuals who follow the program all the way to graduation. So, in conclusion, I stand before you as a clinician, but also as a citizen that's invested in the well-being of the community. The plans that I laid out today are, to me, more than just a frivolous proposal, but rather a blueprint for a health bridge where members of our community, especially those that are stuck in cycles of trauma, can begin to feel supported. Thank you for considering these vital steps forward, not just for those in crisis, but also for the health and the vitality of Linn County as a whole. And I thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Any questions for me?
What would, how would we go about something like this?
It definitely would proceed in stages.
Okay.
So we, and I'll use some of the work that the sheriff and I have begun, which is that we begin by piloting something that might start small. And that would include things like having our staff and his begin ride-alongs, begin small group meetings where they get to know each other. We get to see how they work. They get to see how we work. We've begun things like trying some limited police co-responding. We've also begun in small steps, beginning some of this mobile crisis response. So I guess the short answer, again, I'll return to say, is that it's going to happen in stages. What I presented to you today were multiple steps, and these are things that I would envision taking not just months, but maybe over the course of the next year or two to implement.
Of course.
And we'd have to decide which ones we want to prioritize trying first, which ones can we afford to try now. And some of these things, as I mentioned, are going to require some dedicated staff that are local to Linn County, meaning that they are close enough that they can deploy rapidly to the scene, whether that call is coming from a residence themselves, it may be coming from the sheriff's office or one of the local police departments. I hope that answers your question.
Any other counties have it in Kansas?
There are some counties. Now, what I presented to you today here, again, was a multi-stage, multi-program way to evolve our crisis outreach. There are counties that we've spoken to in Kansas. Ford County has begun assisted outpatient treatment, and I visited with some of their staff. I've also spoken with Pawnee County, who's been doing a lot of police co-responding.
Sedgwick County presented at our Kansas County Commissioners Association last year.
I'm sorry, did you say
Sedgwick County.
Yeah,
Yep.
And I think they've begun both police co-responding and mobile crisis response.
Right.
Speaking of Pawnee County, as well as Douglas County, we've talked to them about their crisis stabilization units. So again, I guess the short answer to your question is there are other counties that have begun some piecemeal work, piloting some programs. There's other counties that are further along in this evolution.
But nothing so far within SEK mental health?
We have begun some of small stages. We're very much in the fledgling state here
Okay.
of mobile crisis response, both in Linn County and our other counties.
Okay. All right. Other questions for Brian?
Could you describe our 24/7 crisis role we've traditionally played out, types and levels of support? Yeah.
Absolutely. So Nathan's request was to describe the 24/7 nature of our crisis work, and what that has traditionally looked like. And I think I spoke about this some, was that we do offer 24/7 crisis assessments. These would be screenings for individuals that might pose an immediate danger to themselves or others. We've also begun hiring, and that's where my crisis manager, Lisa, is here with us today. She has a team of individuals, of crisis case managers that we've begun that work of going into the community, providing some of that outreach. And so we do have a hotline that's available 24/7 for those folks. But again, there's a lot more that we can do to help those individuals that are falling into some gaps in care. Nathan, did that respond to your? Okay. Any other questions? And I just want to thank the sheriff for being here today.
Yes, of course.
You want me to stand right here?
You can hang out if you want to. Just going to take a few minutes. I just wanted to speak in response to this program and in support of it as well. I think the county attorney's office would also be in that position based on the individuals that we deal with. I'm not going to mention any names, but we've already ran into a few situations in Linn County where this program has been a success, and they're very small successes right now, but they're very important successes. And what we're looking at by doing this co-responder thing, and I want to thank Lisa because she's had all of her team come in. They've ridden with deputies. We've met with them. We work on both sides education for us because we don't always, as law enforcement, we don't always understand what they do, and they don't always understand what we do. And the problem with mental health in Linn County, and just kind of a thought process, probably 60% of the individuals currently in our jail facility suffer from some sort of mental health issue. And I think the prosecutor has to agree with that because he sees those individuals in the courtroom and their actions and reactions. But a couple of our successes have been, we started this all off, we probably started talking about a year ago about how a lot of this stuff could work, may not work, and just started kind of chewing the fat with it, if you will. But today, I think about all Lisa's team have been in a patrol car. They're meeting our deputies. They're understanding what we do. The problem with law enforcement and mental health is it's not illegal to have a mental health issue, right? So you can be out in the community and causing a ruckus, having a mental health issue, and there's not an enforcement action for it. There's not a Kansas statute that says if you have a mental health issue, law enforcement's going to deal with you, they're going to put you in jail. That doesn't happen. But what does happen is a lot of times we get to that scene and the individuals may become aggressive or violent toward law enforcement because there's now enforcement or an authority there on the scene. And sometimes that causes a problem. So what we're doing is putting this co-responder event together to try to stop that. What we can't do is arrest our way out of mental health issues. And our society, our public will call. If you have an individual out doing something a little bit squirrely, something that the rest of society isn't doing, we'll get 10 or 15 calls a day on that. we'll go and visit with them and say, hey, can you settle down a little bit? It's kind of like playing your music too loud sometimes. Settle down a little bit and we'll be okay and you won't see us back here. But that don't happen. Folks with mental health issues aren't responding to those kinds of requests from law enforcement. So what we've seen is when we do deal with individuals with mental health, we started up this kind of a hotline via email. It's called Police Updates. And law enforcement from all over the county would email in and say, hey, team, we have a problem and we need help with this problem because it's a mental health issue and it's not a law enforcement issue, right? It's taking services from other places and putting them on a mental health issue, which quite frankly can sometimes last for hours. And in this situation, we get a response back from the mental health team, from those professionals, and they actually respond and assist that individual. We have 2 cases right now in Linn County that we dealt with, and we were probably on some of them getting 6 to 10 calls per day on one of them, and probably another one we were getting 4, 5, 6 calls a week. We put this plan into progress, and we went out and we took people with us to go see these folks. We haven't had a call from either of them now in probably over a month. So does it work? Yeah, I firmly believe it does. I'm pretty passionate about the thing because in our world, we were driven to have to arrest mental health issues because we would get on scene and something's going to happen. They're not going to respond well. And the prosecutor can tell you that. He reads those reports. And to us, it's frustrating because we didn't go to cause an issue. We went to try to talk an issue out. But when you put a uniform up in front of those folks, it doesn't always work. And sometimes we need the Bryans or the leases of this world to sit down with them and have that long, drawn-out conversation that's probably going to take hours. If we do end up with them in jail, we're bringing them in for assessment to see how we can best treat and deal with the individuals who are coming to us. They might be spending time in our jail. They might be diverting and going on to Osawatomie State Hospital. They might simply be getting appointments for a later date because their situation isn't so serious that they must be incarcerated for a long period of time. And the prosecutor will tell you there's a lot of times we go and talk to him and say, this is our situation. The individual, we're not treating them the best by putting them in jail. That's not a safe environment for them. So we're looking for those alternative things to try to put in place. You ask if other communities are doing this, and they are. I've reached out, I've talked to sheriffs around the state who are doing things like this. There's police departments that have their own co-responders when you get into north of us, into the bigger populations and stuff like that. And they're actually employed by the city a lot of times, and they're therapists and clinicians and things like that. In Linn County, do we have a problem? Yes, we do. Do we need it full-time today? We're working through that. We're working to see what's going to occur with this. I come to speak in support of mental health because Southeast Kansas Mental Health has been a partner of ours for a long time. And I'll just be quite frank, in our last budgetary season, they lost some dollars. And I think it's going to be paramount to support programs like this. And quite frankly, I would reach out to each commissioner, to the prosecutor, and say, these are legacy programs. These are programs that get remembered 10 years down the road. And I think they're important to our county to say that not only did we have a problem, we identified a problem, but we stood up in an effort to take care of the problem. And I think these are some of the first steps to do that. Brian would mention the ride-along program and say that's something we want to put in place. In my mind, we already have, because our people are working together daily, almost on a daily basis now. And their folks are coming out and riding 2, 3, 4 hours with us. And right now it's kind of a get to know how everybody's going to act and react to the situation. But we also have seen therapy. We've seen these folks just being kind. They have some other branches of mental health that are also helping in support of our people who are out there. We have people living on the road in Linn County, and we don't really realize it because we don't look hard enough to see it every day. I can tell you that in this last weekend, I had one of those folks in jail, and I was happy to. Well, that sounds harsh coming from the sheriff, but why am I happy? Because I know that individual's getting fed. I know that they're getting help. We're talking to them about mental health. I know all those things are happening. That individual only spent a few days in jail, and they're back out in society now. But when we have these problems and we fail to address them, that's where the problem starts. And weird enough, mental health it's kind of like I was talking to Nathan the other day, and it's kind of a quasi-government type situation because they really are a hand of the government. And as Linn County, by statute, it is our responsibility to fund that in some form or fashion. The statute doesn't necessarily tell us how to, but it tells us we have to. And I think that's what's important, and that's what we take away from here. And I think it's also important to understand that we have a thing in place trying to make this better. And it doesn't just make it better for the individual who has a mental health issue, it makes it better for our whole community. Quite frankly, for my office, it's probably taken 2 or 3 or 10 calls a week out of our call for service load right now with just a few individuals that we've assisted with the program. So I beg of the commission to help in support of this program. And if the prosecutor has anything, I'd love to hear his side of it too. Thank you for your time.
Sure, yeah, and I'd like to say a few things to support it as well, not to belabor the point too much, but in my capacity as county attorney, I mean, really everything Sheriff said, I agree with. As one of my frustrations as county attorney is a lot of times, I don't have a diverse toolkit to deal with the diverse issues. You know, really I have one solution, which is to try to put someone in jail. I mean, that's what I can do. And so there are people sometimes who aren't criminals, but they've committed crimes due to mental health issues. They have some mental break. They have something they can't control, or they have a sincere belief that they're doing the correct thing, but they've hurt someone in the process. And those people, they don't deserve to be in jail, and it's not fair to the sheriff and his staff to have to act as mental health support workers when that's not their job function. That's not, I mean, sure, they probably have some training for it, but it's just not the correct response to people who aren't criminals, but just need to be on their medication or need to talk to someone or need some help. And again, my tool set is I can put them in jail, and that's or let them out. That's about all I can do. And I mean that's a little reductive, but it would be extremely nice to have another program, another alternative, another way to divert people in these mental health crises, and to get support that not only would that, I think, be a better solution for them, but like the sheriff said, I think for the community as well. I think that takes a lot of pressure off jail and jail staff to not have to house people who really don't have any business being in jail, and supporting them. I know for a fact that takes more care and resources than someone who doesn't have mental health issues. So I would be in supportive of it. I think in my capacity as county attorney, I see a lot of times we get calls, the sheriff alluded to this, that someone is out in the community and you know, being a little wild, but they're not hurting anybody and they haven't committed a crime. And people want something done, but there's nothing to be done until they commit a crime, and then we can put them in jail, which again isn't necessarily the appropriate outcome. It's just all we can do. So I think it'd be great to have more alternatives. I think it'd be great to have something to assist these people and ease up. I think it would free up a lot of the resources of the county. And I mean, I don't know what the dollars would look like, but I feel like it has to be a net positive at some point.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts, Sheriff Burton. We appreciate that.
No problem.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. Everything else on the agenda is going to need to be pushed till next week. Did you have something?
I'm not aware of anything else we need to do today.
Did you have something that you wanted to?
No, I just came in for the conditional use permit, but with Danny being gone, it states in the protest petition that 3/4 vote of all the members of the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay.
So I think, I feel that pushes it.
Yeah, you can't take a vote on that today until Danny's here.
Right. Okay. So the only other thing we had on the agenda was the Evergy 2024 IRP update. I think we should wait for Danny on that. It's not so pressing of an issue that we can't discuss it next week or the week after.
Good with that.
Okay. Any other business that needs to come before us? All right, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn the county commissioners meeting. Meeting adjourned.